Hi, I'm Preetha. Hi, I'm Anu, and we are partners at Paid Forward, along with Vinita, who's a third partner. Uh, Paid Forward is a company that was started to educate women on the very basics of personal finance. The reason being that we found that there are a lot of stereotypes around personal finance and women, but there are a lot of stereotypes around investments itself. So the idea was to, people believe that it's a difficult subject and tough to understand and a lot of number crunching kind of. So what we decided to do was we felt it is very important for everybody to understand personal finance. Nobody teaches you the subject, not in schools, not at home, but it's a very important life skill. So what we felt was that if we simplify it, if we make it fun, if we make it, if we tell people the importance of understanding it before they start investing and probably getting stuck with wrong investments, it would, really benefit a lot of people, youngsters, women, even whether you're working or not working, it doesn't matter. So we started our entire journey trying to educate people by simplifying personal finance and making it fun and interactive. So three of us women entrepreneurs have started this venture. And Anu, want to say something?
I will be open to all your questions to answer you even the very basic questions on personal finance. So shoot away. You just tell them about, why don't you tell them about what are the essential principles one has to keep in mind?
So basically we start off by explaining, the very basics of personal finance, which is relevant for everybody, not necessarily a man, woman, or youngster or something.
Okay,
so something as basic as say everybody requires insurance. But what happens is typically people take their insurance because it's a product which is sold to them, not necessarily that they were looking for it. So what's the kind of insurance which is important to you? Because if a product is sold to you, then that's the product which is available to you. Versus if you go looking, then you look at a variety of insurance. So is health insurance important? Is life insurance important? At what stage do you need which insurance? And how do you, even something as important as signing the forms, filling the forms correctly and not saying something which or not hiding any information. Or even look at the digital world today. Everything is available out there. You will get any kind of information there. So being careful about what information you put out there, or in terms of even like your credit card usage or taking loans. There are so many aspects around personal finance which have a lot of myths and misunderstandings. We start with trying to explain that that it's important not to make those mistakes first, which have been happening over the years now. So, and we customize every workshop. Like for women, we speak a little bit around certain rights that there are. For youngsters, we talk about the importance of starting early so that they can start saving a little and get into the habit of saving. Then also the fact that youngsters take a lot of loans or maybe EMIs or credit cards and things like that. So we customize it to each audience. So we take the question.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions here. I'm just opening that up and we'll then answer them to you. Okay, while we figure out and try to there. Okay, so one of the first questions here, purely debt versus credit cards with no dues. Which strategy is better? Either a credit card or a debit card. So I think each, whether it is a debit card or a credit card, both of them come with their own pros and cons. In case of a debit card, it's just very easy. Instead of carrying cash in your pocket, you're carrying a debit card. And wherever you swipe it, you immediately have a deduction in your bank. However, with a credit card, it offers you a ready line for credit. This is especially useful in case of an emergency or when you do not have enough cash in your account, or want to do a slightly bulkier purchase where you are very sure of how your payment structure is going to be. And especially replying this vis-a-vis that you are not going to keep any pending dues or incur interest charges on your credit cards. Those are some of the pitfalls to watch out for.
And just one more thing about interest is debit card is basically the money that you have. Credit card is a loan. And that's something that if we kind of, I think, start believing in, then we'll be more careful about using the credit card. It's not your money. So that's something that we try to tell people to think of, to change their thinking around. But a credit card is very useful in case of an emergency, the way I said.
Yeah. Hi, Jaya. Your question is, please give me some simple steps to start teaching my kids about money management.
Can I just narrate an incident which, I forgot to share it with you. Someone just told me recently, about 3-4 days ago, that her father, so she's got 2 brothers, and her father apparently, every time one of the kids turned 13, he would tell the child to run the household for an entire month. So, which means he's given the budget. He's being told where each one, maybe there is an investment to be made or an expense to be incurred, and the child has to do that. And there will suddenly be an emergency in the family, like maybe he has to go away from the budget because maybe something is broken and needs repair. I thought it was a beautiful way to teach a child budgeting, saving, contingency, all the things that we talk of during our workshop. So that's one idea which we can think of. And I think the other thing is, we do these workshops in schools, and there we speak to children about, their own expenses that they incur that they're not aware of. So we use games to do that. So games is a good way to teach children if they're much smaller than 13. 13, 14 games go down very well too.
They do, yes. Hi, Shilpa. Thank you for your question. A very interesting one here. It says, I want to save money and get high interest, but with no risk. Isn't that the ideal scenario, that you just keep earning without taking any risk? Can you please suggest some ways in order to save money for the future? Well, I think if you stargaze into the future, not being able to save enough and to meet the requirement in the future is one of the biggest risks that we have to our money. So when you stargaze for any future plan, I think 3 things that we keep in, 3 worries all of us have is how much do we want to save, when should the money be ready, and how or where should I save. Coming to the point on risk, I think there is risk not just in personal finance, but there is risk everywhere. I think when you look at various financial products which are available in the market, some of them give you an assured returns like an FD or a debt fund. In this case, we have to keep in mind a very important concept, which is called inflation. Inflation basically means the value of your money is going to go down with time, and you need more money to buy the same thing. Businesses per se, or equity market per se, gives us a feature to cover risk because, as you know, over a very long period of time, if you leave the money and it starts earning, there will be years when it's earning more or earning less. But if it is done in a diligent manner, the power of compounding will help you to achieve your goals. So the longer far away your goal is, the better it is to add some risk to your portfolio. Preetha, you'll take this question, very interesting one here. She started working and wishes to invest in order to save for the future, but wants to keep the market perspective in mind. Is mutual fund a good idea?
Okay, Sudha, firstly, mutual funds are usually for the long term. And long term is anything above 3, 5, 8, 10 years. So market going up and down is a part and parcel of the market, way the market functions. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If it is, you first understand whether you want to park that money for a short term or a long term. Second thing is, of course, there are FDs and there are RDs, and there are even the government schemes like PPF and all, which are giving you good interest rates, tax-free too. But there are various avenues, and I think first is to define your goal for that particular investment. And you can see if it is short-term, then you have liquid funds. If it is long-term, then you've got, the equity market. So it depends actually on your goal. You want to add something?
No, I think that understanding mutual funds, and mutual funds can be of any asset class, be it debt or equity. So even through a mutual fund, you can diversify your portfolio, and when it is planned in a good manner, it is a very good product for retail investors like us. It brings in a professional background to it, and look at it this way. If you need expert advice on your health, you probably go to a doctor. So similarly, if you need expert advice or a professional management of your money, then a mutual fund offers a very good, well-regulated environment for us to lean on. Coming to, there's a question, very interesting question on gold. Is gold a better option than investing in other forms? Of course, as women, I think gold is something we all look forward to, and with the festive season coming in and Dhanteras there, all of us are looking forward to buying a piece of jewelry. Now, when we speak about something as an investment, we always keep in mind the return that we get from that. In case of gold, keep in mind if you were to go and sell it and try to use it as an investment, there is making charge that comes into picture. There is gold wastage that comes in picture, the purity of gold. And really, most of us buy gold, but do we really sell it? So it's a very, very emergency option. I would suggest people to keep a very small portion of their portfolio in gold and look at some other equally smart investment options available. Thank you. Yeah, isn't that true about gold everywhere, Preetha?
None of us buy gold as an investment. Actually, in our mind, it's more a decorative or whatever, to wear it as a jewelry. When we say, okay, I'm going to invest some money, how many of us actually, say, okay, let's invest in gold? You don't really invest in gold, right? So I think it's a good idea to separate it, because at the time when you actually require the money, I think it's you'll be better planned.
Yeah.
Because we usually don't sell gold unless it's an emergency. And that emergency has to be like something really serious.
Yeah.
Even if it's an emergency, we would rather take a loan.
Yeah.
Right? So I think thinking about that particular, about gold in a certain way itself will change your decision of whether you should buy that gold or not. As in, is it an investment or not?
Yeah. What do you think about women's participation in handling finances for the family?
I think women have all the right skills required for personal finance, which is one is the fact that demonetization was a good example when a lot of money came out of our cupboards, which were all stacked. In fact, somebody told me 2 days ago that they found money in their grandmother's fridge because she had hidden it there.
Really?
So that's a saving habit that we have. That also is a habit of us keeping aside money for a rainy day. That's why we've hidden it from everybody in the family. So we have that, and then we also have this thing of thinking of women tend to think of the husband, the children, in-laws, parents, maybe the neighbors in some cases. You think holistically and you plan for everything. Say even if you're planning a meal, you plan for a family outing kind of a thing. So I think all these traits are ideal for personal finance, and it's just I think we lack the confidence. One of the reasons being that it is a stereotype in the society that the men will do a better job, but no one teaches them either. So it's good to know that we can also learn and do probably better.
Yeah, of course. I think we know the spending patterns of the family, and I think some of the strengths that women bring in is we are very calculated risk takers and not very aggressive with our money. Also, we tend to focus on what our goals are rather than getting very competitive about the returns the other person has met or how the other person is perceiving their future. So I think, as Warren Buffett says, invest like a girl. So I think we are in a very lucky space in Jobs for Her is providing this wonderful opportunity for all of you to pick up this money skill and implement it into your own personal lives. As I always say, equal rights, equal responsibilities.
Absolutely, one of the best sentences actually.
It's very important for us to participate in this very important field. And I think that would be the truly liberated feeling that any woman would want to achieve. Let's look for some more questions here. Vandana, thanks Vandana. There is, okay, Vandana asks, people generally invest in land and real estate in terms of getting rent from a house or getting land. So she has shares, mutual funds, FD, RD, etc. How much, okay, what should be the distribution of money, and which ones would be wiser? Oh my God. So that's a lot of things bundled into the same thing. I think portfolio allocation or distribution of our limited resources is one of the most challenging parts of designing a financial plan. One of the adages used or the strategies used is 100 minus age is what needs to go into equity. Now, since you've spoken about various asset classes, I wanted to share that equity is something which beats inflation over a long period of time. So money which can stay for a long period or take some risks can go into equity. However, money which is required, like your contingency fund or funds that you are planning to use, let's say the next year, those need to be parked into very stable investments like the FD or an RD. A mutual fund is going to can offer you a mix of both or equally independent. It's just something which invests in shares, RDs, real estate, and everything, and it clearly defines, each mutual fund will clearly define what is the distribution of money that they will have. As far as real estate is concerned, I think Preetha might be
I just add one point is that when we look at investments, we always tell people we all tend to do haphazard investments. Like people who work, they tend to take at the end of the year buy some instrument which is good for saving tax. So or somebody comes to you to sell a product saying the returns are good, and then you tend to buy it. But ideal way to look at it, which we try to tell people to do, is to set your goal first. So if I'm a 25-year-old, I want to get married, say, in 5 years, or I want to have children in 10 years, and they need college fees in another 20 years, or your retirement planning 30 years later. Put it down like that, and the numbers will fall much better into place. Second thing to remember is that each investment has a time horizon. Like when you look at, say, a mutual fund, you cannot expect returns in 3 days or 10 days or 1 year or so. So hence it's a long-term investment. So if your goal is long-term, then mutual fund makes sense. You want money in another 6 months, 1 year, FDs make a lot of sense. So break it down like that. And where land or apartment is concerned, today the prices are so badly down. But all of us like to have our own, the Indian dream home that we all like to own. What becomes important to remember is mostly land is bought on borrowed money, which is you take a loan from the bank. Can I service that loan for 15, 20, 25 years, however long it is required, is one question you should ask yourself. Second question is it sensible for me to take a house today when maybe 3 years later I can shift jobs and move to another city or probably another country? Is that a possibility? And it's a very strong possibility today for youngsters actually. The third thing to think of is what will be my other expenses over the years that I have to service this loan and that expense or that other loan. Because a large chunk of your money is going to be blocked in this home loan for many years to come. One more thing is that the dream home that I'm looking at? Am I going to actually live in it, or am I looking at it for rent? You need to keep some of these points, and every investment actually requires you to ask yourself a few questions, and those questions are like very basic questions: the goal, the returns, the risk, the inflation. If you ask these questions, I think all the kind of investments you mentioned here will kind of automatically you'll be able to answer it yourself.
And all of them will get clarified. Also, an EMI I just wanted to add is that it is something where you start paying interest, especially for the younger population when they take on the burden of various EMIs. You start paying interest to other people. So your money does not have an opportunity to grow or earn interest. There is the fundamental rule of creating money is the power of compounding, which means you should leave your money in an interest-generating product over a long period of time. But the discipline that we show while paying an EMI, we are very disciplined. Most of us never miss an EMI. But when it comes to investing in, let's say, a mutual fund through an SIP, we do not stay on with our investment and stay committed just the way we are into an EMI. Keeping your investments automated is one of the best ways of handling this psychological barrier.
Just to add one more point to that, people tend to confuse insurance as an investment. Insurance is not an investment. 2-3 points which I'd like to share is insurance is basically a risk mitigation instrument. So you're taking insurance, the purpose for taking insurance is different. Investment is to grow your money. So first is don't confuse the two. It's easier to get confused seeing the returns that people will talk to you about. Second thing is every single one of us require health insurance. The reason being that in India actually women are not completely. A lot of them don't have health insurance with the belief that the person who's the earning member, which is the man in some cases, in most cases, is the one who requires it. No, there is every chance of you and me also falling ill and say something like a dengue, which we keep talking about. Rich, poor, man, woman, young, old, it can impact anybody. And one hospitalization, and all of us, a lot of us go to private hospitals, and we know they are expensive. One hospitalization, and there's a huge expense which is propped up in a month when you've not probably expected it. So health insurance is a good idea to have. Not mixing insurance and investment is the second thing that we tell people to segregate the two. And for women, this becomes important to understand that health insurance is important.
Yeah. I think it's time to wrap up. We look forward to many more questions from you. Please write away to us. I've shared our email ID. It is Anu. It's ask.paidforward@gmail.com. And so sorry, you can also write to either Anu or Preetha at pifservices.in. In case you bring a group of ladies together, we could deep dive into the subject. We could also come to your organization and conduct workshops where you can participate, and we walk you through the whole paraphernalia of personal finance in a very jargon-free, interactive manner.
And objective also. We don't sell any financial products, so
yeah,
you're welcome to write in anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.